Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to North End Stories. This episode's episode 12, growing up around violence. What does that mean? The North End was very tough. It still is to this day, but nothing like it was in the 70s and 80s. It was basically survival. You either were a tough guy or you weren't. And if you weren't, then you were bullied, you were beat up, and you were picked on your whole life. If you can handle yourself, then you better handle yourself. That would put you in a good frame, in a good friendship with the rest of the people in the North End. It would give you a little bit of respect. And that's what you need in a tough neighborhood. Where does it start? Right here at school. Yeah, grammar school. Kindergarten is where I started, right here, all the way up to the 7th grade. You know, you get into these little fights as you grow up. Bloody nose, black guy, things you can handle. Schoolyard fights. This was our playground. The nuns would come up, ring the bell. We'd go run around for a half hour. People didn't like what we did. Older classmen, whatever, they picked on us. What do? We picked on younger classmen. Just the way it was, kind of toughen each other up. You know, they beat us up, we beat you up. Until you got your turn to beat someone up. Just the way it was growing up in grammar school. But as you find, as we do this episode, what happens is, you get older, and the violence gets more dangerous. It gets more real, and it gets more close to home. This school here, I went to the 7th grade. And the North End is kind of a circle. We talked about it in earlier episodes. You got Commercial Street and you got North Washington. Semicircle each, and down the middle is Hanover Street. I grew up on that side, where this school was. But this school closed. Where did I have to go? On that side, to St. John's, where I met kids that I knew but didn't know. Just seen them around. And then I became friends with them. And at that point I became 13, 14, a young man. And things really started to progress. Stay tuned, keep going, rocking and rolling, North End Stories, episode 12. And don't forget, I appreciate you all. Like, subscribe, stay tuned for more. So like I said, St. Anthony's closes, 7th grade, Duta Vanuta. What do? I gotta find another school. Luckily, on that half, there was only St. Anthony's, but on this half, there was St. John's where I came. Just for the 8th grade and graduated, mind you. But what happened here was a lot of the kids that I would see, like at the pool, like a watering hole, all the kids would congregate in the summer. Well, I met kids like Gelati, Daniel Toscano, my friend Atuna, Ralph Antola, Roman Luisi, friends like that are still friends to this day. Situations arose. As you got older, you became more involved, and now you knew the whole North End. Well, one situation arose that this girl, Jackie, good friend of mine, only 13 we were, it was her 14th birthday. She lived on Cooper Street. We went by her house for a little house party. She came with some of her girlfriends, Cheryl, Renee, myself, a few of my friends. One of the girls happened to like me. The boyfriend thought there was something going on. Boyfriend happened to be an older kid, believe it or not, 17, 18. What happens when I open the door? Him and another kid, Steven, jumped out with baseball bats. Here I am, 13, fighting a 17, 18-year-old kid, another kid with baseball bats. Luckily, I was quick, scared, whatever it was, but I ducked, pushed, and ran. Grabbed my brother. He couldn't do nothing. He was working. My friends are like, let's go home, fuck this. I said, I'm going back. I'm fucking going back. Nobody's telling me what I gotta do, and nobody's telling me where I can and cannot go. So yeah, I went back. My friends couldn't believe it. I ran back. I ducked my way. I pushed my way. I threw my way, and I got in that apartment. Stood with the girls till midnight. Grabbed a big knife. Looked out the window. I said, I'm going home now. Anybody comes near me, they're gonna get fucking stabbed. Even though I didn't mean it. I was just a kid, just scared, trying to get out of there alive. And so I did. And these are the kind of things you start getting involved with as you get older. And wait till I go to high school. Madonna. So here we are. This is the Charter Street playground. Now I told you before, I went to school at St. Anthony's on this side of North End. When it closed, I had to go for my 8th grade on that side, where I met a different group of girls and guys, or kids. And they hung here in Charter Street. I hung in Cleveland Place. But for this summer, I hung out here in Charter Street with the Charter Street playground kids. Growing up with violence, all kinds of violence. One particular story, a horrible story that I remember. Now, violence can be perpetrated on anyone, not just a person. In this situation, I had a friend of mine. She had a dog, It was a Great Dane. It was beautiful. Tall, majestic, black, a wonderful, friendly dog. Loved it. Always walked the dog in the Charter Street as she lived off of Charter. And there was another guy. We call him Paul Lanny. That's his name. He's dead now, I would think. Or he deserves to be. Well, this guy was crazy, scary, a notorious criminal in the North End. Probably had a rap sheet, probably on parole, who knows. But walked with a limp, scary looking, I mean scary. He came in here with his dog, and his dog was named Caesar, a big, strong, mean, like him, Rottweiler. And at one point, the two dogs met and they went at it. But let me tell you this, that Rottweiler was this close to getting killed. For my friend's dog had it in a death grip right by the throat and would not let go. And what did Paul Lanny do? He started punching it in the face. No, it wouldn't let go. And what did he do? Being the crazy, murdering motherfucker he was, he pulled out a shank. Yeah, a shank. I didn't know what a shank was till I was older. Basically, a shank is something like this. And he stuck the dog 3 times in the rib cage. That dog still didn't give up. It kept fighting. It would not let go of that death grip until slowly the air come out of it as he probably punctured its lung. It laid down and slowly breathed his last breath. All of us in horror, some of us crying. The girl went home, told her brother. He come out with a shotgun, ran to the guy's building, was gonna go upstairs, but they said he was waiting with 2 pistols. The police were called. I never seen Paul Lanny again, thank God. He probably spent the rest of his life in the can. Just another story here in the North End, another violent story, ugly story that affected me here at Charter Street in Boston's historic North End. So here we are, Christopher Columbus High School. Back then we knew it as the Franciscan Friars, not something I was crazy about. But this is the high school I went to. And the thing about the high school here, now it's the center of the North End, literally in the center. So no matter where you went to try to get out of this place, the North End, it was the same amount of distance. You weren't getting out of here 10 minutes quicker, 5 minutes faster. Ain't happening. Key is, across the street from this high school was the playground, the St. Anthony's playground. Second biggest playground in the North End. Meaning what? Well, most of the time it's pretty warm. September, October, November, not freezing until like the dead months of winter. And in that time, some of the toughest guys that I knew were in here. Virgil, Big Don, Jackie Gal, tough men. I mean men. They weren't 12, 15 like us, 14, whatever. They were 18, 19, 20 up and comers. Weren't afraid to crack you, stab you, shoot you, bat you, whatever it took. They had our back. If you fucked with anybody, if you came from Dorchester, Charlestown, Southie, anywhere but the North End, and you fucked with a North End kid, you had to deal with all these guys after school. And no one wanted to deal with them guys. Leading to a story we'll get to by the Parado when I was a freshman. So we're talking about violence and how it escalates, even if you don't want it to. Here's an example. Christopher Columbus, I'm about 14, it's like 84, 85. We went to the football team and we joined, we got on. Couple kids from East Boston that were older, they were on like the varsity team. Me, my friend Johnny, my friend Michael, Freddie, Michael DeFranco as well, 2 Mikes. We were on the junior varsity team. These older kids, one kid in particular, his name was Moose from East Boston. And they kept breaking our balls. We weren't having any of it. Fuck yous we do, fuck yous. One day, they had a dead bird, a sparrow or something in a cup, and they were like, you's gotta eat it. What do you mean we gotta eat it? Oh, we're gonna haze you, we're gonna make you eat it, we're gonna make you eat it. Go fuck yourself, we'll stick it up your ass. Don't forget where you are. This is the North End where you go to school. Come Monday, you're gonna hear about this bullshit. Fuck you. End of that. What did we do? We went to the playground across the street that I had mentioned. Guys like Virgil, Jackie Gal, Big Don, they were hanging there. But I had other friends closer to my age I was more comfortable with. My friend Paul, my friend Kenny, kids like that. And I asked them, help me out. These kids are giving us a hard time, they're older. I don't know what to do. We'll take care of it. They got them and they brought them here to Parado. The kid Moose came with a couple of his friends. I believe it was just Kenny and Paul. Paul's a small kid, but he's crazy. Tough as nails, but he's crazy. You understand? Kenny, my size, well-built, punched like a fucking rock. Words were exchanged. Paul looks at Moose. They go back and forth. Moose throws a whack. Paul pulls out a fucking knife like this. ready to put it right in his heart. This is told to me by Kenny himself. Kenny's going, oh shit, he's gonna kill this kid. What the fuck? What do I do? And he knocks the kid out, one shot. Moose falls like a ton of bricks. They look at him, they look at his friends and say, now pick up this piece of shit. Go back to East Boston and don't ever give these fucking kids a hard time. And that's what I mean. I asked somebody to help, but I was this close to being kind of somebody that got somebody killed if he had stabbed him. You don't know what you're going to do when you ask somebody. You don't know what these guys are involved in. You just wanted help. But this is what I mean by the escalation of violence. Even if you didn't mean it, somebody could get killed. So here we are. We'll say 1986. Where are we? The Slide Park. Slide Park, why? Look around. It's all slides, more or less. If you're a little kid, it's a slide, if you know what I mean. And we may do with whatever we could to have fun. But the story I'm going to tell here is a story I'm in high school now. Maybe sophomore year. Two friends of mine, a little bit younger, and two friends of mine, a little bit older, had a meeting here. What they were meeting about, there's a lot of rumors. It doesn't matter. They were meeting about something. It didn't go well. The older kids were like, fuck yous, more or less. What are you going to do? The younger kids were like, what are we going to do? They pulled out 2 9mm and shot them 2 old kids to death. I remember playing basketball with one of the kids. As he left, I gave him a high five. Good game. Later that day, I heard boom, 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 or that night. Figured there's fireworks going on. You know, it kind of sounds the same from a long distance. Watched the news, bodies were being removed, and I went, oh my God, I just finished a half hour playing basketball with him. The guys that did it lost their lives. They went to jail. The guys that died, they obviously died. 4 families were hurt by that. All I could say is I had no part of it. I had no decision on it. They were just friends of mine. No, I can't take sides. I'm hurt that they died. I'm hurt that they're going to go to jail forever. I'm hurt that the whole situation happened. That's the kind of violence you dealt with. Even as a 16-year-old, people were killing people. As things got older, things escalated. There's always a price to pay. And I just realized that that could be me if I make that decision. If I make that decision, maybe I'll end up where I am right now, just telling stories, as opposed to dying with them. This is by the water, a place we call the New Park. Why the New Park? It always seems to be redone. Again, as you can see, just redone. Behind me are the bocce courts. All the old timers would play it back in the day. Have some sit downs, some meetings, I'm sure. Today, the old timers that are left still play it. Why? The 2 best games in Italy are soccer and bocce. For us, it was like a watering hole where we drank. People would buy for us if we were too young. When we got to a certain age where we could buy, we bought for ourselves when we partied down here. Funny story that comes to mind in high school again. We mentioned about nobody from out of town should fool around here or do something wrong to one of us because there's repercussions, because it's our home. Well, these Boston kids tried it once. Lo and behold, they tried again. This time they come down with like 15, 20 kids, all different ages. They were bothering a friend of mine, Lopi. We're going to back them up. 6 or 8 of us, our crew. We meet them. But guess what? They come down during the feast, the Madonna della Cava on Hanover Street. And right by the fire station on Hanover is where it erupted. They figured they had a big army, they're safe, forget about it. Guys would come out of windows, out of their homes, older guys, younger guys, whatever. There must have been 50 of us, and we kicked the shit out of them. Not only there, they tried to run down Hanover and go at the time by the Callahan Tunnel and go across or underneath to East Boston. We beat the shit out of them all the way down Hanover and chased them till they had no other choice but to run on foot in that tunnel to get to where they lived, East Boston. And that's how it was. One for all and all for fucking one here in the North End. So now, let's go a little forward. I'm out of high school, about 19 years old. And one of my best friends at the time, my friend Benny D. And we hung out, we got real close. And we used to do everything together. One day, there was a certain situation that happened. There was a guy that tried to make a name for himself. He came around here flexing his muscles, so to speak. And he had words with my friend. Why my friend? Because my friend didn't do anything crazy. He wanted to pick on somebody that wasn't involved in shit like him. And he wanted to make a name. How did he want to make a name? By hurting my friend. My friend don't take no shit from no one, no matter who you are. They had words. The guy tried to stab my friend. My friend worked in a butcher shop at the time. He went in with a meat cleaver, came out, the guy took off. Try to squash it, try to make some calls. People said he didn't mean it, he's sorry. He wants to say he's sorry. He's going to meet you at this certain area. One thing led to another, and he was shot, and he was paralyzed. They dropped him off at the hospital, and he survived. Let me tell you this, a lot of things can go wrong. A lot of people can get hurt. The people that did that to him, most of them are dead. But you know something? He's still alive. He's the toughest fucking guy I ever met. He went through so much with what he had to deal with, not just physically now, but mentally. A lot. 18 years old, can you imagine? But he survived. He didn't just survive. We went everywhere. Vegas, Atlantic City, Bermuda. We traveled all over the place. He was like, fuck this, my life ain't changing. And you know what I realized? He was like, I need you, I need you. We became close. I was like, in the end, you're wrong. I never needed more anyone than I needed him. He took me everywhere. I was kind of an introvert, but because of what happened with him, we became close, and because of his determination of living his life, I got to go on the ride with him. One of the best 10 years I've ever had. Benny D is the most solid guy I ever met. We always talk about it. I love him to death, and literally the toughest guy I ever met. When I saw him in the hospital and they said he got shot, no. One of us gets shot? That don't happen. What do you get shot? In the leg? In the ass? He's all right. They said no. He might be paralyzed. I couldn't believe it. I went to see him the next day, and I was crying with him. And he looked at me, and he said, you got to get this guy for me. What am I going to say? I love him. Yes, I'll get him. And that summer, I talked to a friend of mine, Tommy D. I got my first gun. It was a 25 Raven, nickel-plated. I'll never forget it. We actually came down here after a softball game, and we shot it behind the skating rink to make sure it worked. Another time, we shot it by a barrel. It was dark out. We unloaded the clip. Boom, 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 boom. 6 shots, 1 in the chamber, 7 altogether. There was a couple making out 2 feet right next to that barrel. We didn't know. They were like, oh, screaming and yelling, ran away. We were like, what the fuck? And we were scared and we ran away. But I had my first gun, and I searched for that person. I would go out, nobody knows it, and I'd walk around, and I'd go by myself throughout the feast, this and that, certain spots I might see, because he was driving around, and he was threatening people. If anybody talks, that's how it works, then I'll kill you. He actually shot at us one day at that St. Anthony's playground with a shotgun. A couple of guys got hit, but what it was bird shot. And what that means in La Cosa Nostra is a warning. Keep your mouth shut. It's not going to kill you, it's going to hurt. But if you open your mouth, you'll get the buckshot, and that'll kill you. So I had my first gun, and I searched. I cried that night. It's over for me. I kill him, I go to the can. I don't kill him, maybe he kills me. It wasn't a good way either way. But it all worked out. He ended up going to the can. He's ended up dead now. And so is another guy that perpetrated this. But my friend Benny's still fucking alive and kicking and doing mighty fucking fine. These are the things that you get involved with, and these are the things that you become when you grow up around violence around here. There's nothing I won't do for someone I love. Why? Because I know they do the exact same thing for me. So this is House Street. And House Street is known for Cobb's Hill Burial Ground and the Skinny House, believe it or not. A house that's like over 200 years old. But to me, it's notorious for a murder that happened here. A tale of 2 friends, if you will, best of friends. One guy grew up next to me, a neighbor, on Sheep Street, where I grew up as a young boy. The other one grew up on Endicott Street, the notorious tough guy, Gangster Street. They became best friends. At one point, they were up and comers in the mob. And what happened was one of them did something they shouldn't have. They stole from somebody they shouldn't have. And the word was put out on the street that he had to go. What does that mean? That means he had to be taken care of, if you will. So who did they ask? His best friend. They didn't ask him. They told him, and they made him. It was either you do it or you're both gonna go. What he must have went through, I can't even imagine. I knew the person He wasn't a bad guy. He was a good guy in a bad situation. He did what he had to do, and he took the guy out. It destroyed him. Didn't see him much more again. He did time for it. Things went on. Life went on. Great friends with his brother. I love him to death. It's just something that you have to do when you get involved in certain elements. You want to play or live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword sooner or later. Street violence, real violence, it escalates. Starts off with your fists, and it ends up with someone dead more times than not. Just the way it goes in the tough streets of the North End. So violence can affect you in many ways. Sometimes it can happen to you unintentionally. For example, a little older now. We're at this place, Rachel's. Rachel's was in the Marriott here by the Long Wharf. Having a good time, few drinks, me and a few friends. I notice I see one of my friends, he's got this look in his eyes. Like he's got some focus, some mission, and he starts to march. So I follow. I want to make sure he's all right. What the fuck's going on? He comes to a table with 3-4 guys, grabs one of them by the back of the hair, pulls him back, puts a knife to his throat, whispers something in his ear, and walks away. They're kind of frozen. I end up showing up. I'm kind of frozen. What do? They attack me. I'm fighting 3-4 guys. No matter what, how tough you are, 3-4 guys a lot. He comes back to help me out. As I'm wrestling with all these guys, he pulls out the knife and boom, he hits me right in the rib cage. Bends the knife, pops the kid in the chest behind me. He drops. They run, I run, superhuman strength. When you're fighting for your life, it just shit happens like that. I get out to Marriott, go to the hospital. A friend of mine, Ricky, took me there. A couple of stitches later, I'm all right. Next day, we get word. These kids are from Revere. They want to have a sit down. They know someone. Yeah, you know someone? We know the someone that's behind the someone you know. What we do, we talk to that person. Day later, he told them, beat it. Don't ever show your face in the North End. There will be no sit down, and there will be no repercussions. It's done. See you later. That's what happens. Even though I'm in a situation where I want to help somebody, and he wants to help me, I ended up getting poked. Just how violence can flip in a minute, as opposed to you doing it, it ends up turning on you. Violence goes a number of different ways. Basically, all my life, I've heard stories of violence or killings right here, right in front of Bova's. Probably, I don't know, late 70s. Guy walks out, guy pulls up, sawed-off shotgun, boom, blows him right through the chest, dead right here. I remember coming as a little boy to go get bread from my grandmother or my mom the day it happened. All they had was like yellow police tape and sawdust over the blood, but they were still open for business. Imagine that. Another story I remember, there was a place called the Foster Street Playground. I guess a guy got into a beef with another guy. Guy was pretty tough with his hands. Didn't speak much English. He was a Sicilian guy. Just came to America and the North End recently. The other guy that fought him, that didn't do so well with his hands, was pretty gangster, let's put it that way. He said he wanted to have a meeting just to straighten it out and let bygones be bygones. So they met in the playground, Foster Street, where he shot him 15 times and killed him dead. These are stories I heard growing up. Other guys that lived in this alley back here, a couple of brothers, they were involved in things. They did a lot of bad things, and they were involved in a lot of bad things. They both died. I heard stories about them. It was always about life and death growing up around here. I'm just happy that I'm 53 years old and I am a survivor of violence. Violence growing up here in the North End. So I'm going to end the episode with this story. It's a huge story. At this point, I'm about 24, 25. I have a young son, just months old. My friend Michael DeFranco, a great friend of mine, also has a young son, and he lives here with his wife. What happens is there's a big house party. It's going to be after midnight. It was very late. I'm laying in bed with my girl. The baby's asleep. He's trying to get sleep with his baby, but he can't. Big house party. Who's up there? These college kids rented the place. Back then, very rare, but it was just starting to get into that kind of situation with these well-to-do, if you will, people that didn't have any regard for the North End, hard to move in. Well, he went upstairs and he pled to them, please, I got a young baby. Just want to go to sleep. Live life like a regular human being. I like to party too, but not after midnight and not above me. Do me a favor. Shut the door in his face, more or less, said, fuck you. What does he do? He calls me, Gelati, a few kids, about 6 of us in total. We show up here. As I turned the corner, all I remember was there were people everywhere, maybe about 8 kids, and all screaming and yelling. As I turned, first kid I see, boom, I drop. Next kid going at it with. Gelati's hitting up a couple guys. John is, Michael is. We all started taking on one at a time, squaring off. It was easy for us. Why? This is a narrow, you say 20, 25 kids, he's full of shit. No way, I swear to my mother. How did we do it? 5 or 4 were coming out at a time through this little narrow door. Like the 300 Spartans, narrow area fought 1,000,000 soldiers because they couldn't come all at them at once, only a few at a time. And as they came out, we put them down, left and right, until it was all said and done. And the last fight was Michael with this big kid. Michael was a big kid. The kid was just as big as him. And they were going back and forth, nobody throwing a punch. And I was like, Mike, it's late. Let's fucking end this. Take him out. And he told me he heard that. And he dropped the kid, square in the chin, went to sleep. Good night. And that's when we were basically in our prime, at our toughest. We were able to handle and able to do whatever we found necessary. And we used violence. We used it to help people in that situation. Other times we used it differently, but in that particular situation, we used it to help our friend out, just like he or any one of them would have helped any one of us. And that's it, folks, for this episode of North End Stories. Ciao for now. See you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.